Bringing you the news from here at home and across the world. This is Primetime News live on Newsfirst. A very good evening. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I am Shahin Jurangpati and let's take a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
President reiterates that strict legal measures will be taken against drug smugglers.
මමත් මරණ දඬුවම ළඟදීම දෙනවා. මේ රට බේර ගන්න ඕනේ අපි.
Customs officials protest against the appointment of a former Navy officer as the Director General. Gotabaya Rajapaksa says steps have been taken to renounce his American citizenship to contest the presidential elections. Ranjan Ramanayaka's revelation.
මට ෆොටෝ එක හම්බෙයි ෆොටෝ එකත් එක්ක පෙන්නන්න මේ සේරව මල්ලි එක රෑනේ හොරු ටික.
President Maithripala Sirisena reiterated in Mathura today that he will take strictly measures to implement the law against drug traffickers.
In the Philippines, people who distribute or use harmful drugs are executed on the electric chair. In India, they are sentenced to death. Even in America, they are sentenced to death. I will give them the death penalty soon.
මරණ දඬුවම ළඟදීම දෙනවා. මේ රට බේර ගන්න ඕනේ.
We must save this country. This morning, before I got here, I read the media reports on this matter. I only read one compilation of news stories published on television, print media and social media. And I saw that certain reports had criticized this program against drugs. They have made jokes about it. I would like to say that these people are connected to drug smugglers. These drug peddlers spend massive sums of money for this. You know how influential they are. I have been searching for files for a year now to hand down the death penalty to those that court finds guilty of drug-related offences. The president expressed these views speaking at the Mati Nidhas Ratak Mathura district conference. Official badges were pinned on coordinators of the drug prevention campaigns in the district schools, and 4 district drug prevention committees were also felicitated at the event. Books including inaccurate accounts on the birth of Lord Buddha and the Buddhist vision are being printed and distributed in the country. The people funding and backing these are the NGOs, non-governmental organizations. The director at the Department of National Archives, who still holds this position, had disclosed all the documents at the National Archives on the country's heritage and other important documents to foreign countries without any prior approval from the government. Representatives of these countries had come down and photocopied and scanned all these documents at the National Archives. This is a conspiracy carried out to distort the Buddhist philosophy.
Customs personnel have stepped away from their stations as a mark of protests against the decision to appoint a retired Navy officer for the post of Customs Director General.
Cabinet approval was granted yesterday to remove the present Director General of Customs and appoint retired Rear Admiral Dr. Shamal Fernando to the post. Customs officers have stepped away from all stations excluding the Bandaranaike International Airport, Air Cargo Terminal and Export Divisions. The customs trade unions point out that the appointment of the previous 5 customs director generals since 2015 were done based on political needs. The union adds that these political appointments have crippled the administrative activities of the customs department and become an obstacle to achieve the department's long-term goals. Further speaking, the union pointed out that according to the rules and regulations, the post of Director General of Customs should be held by a state administrative officer or an officer serving at the special grade of the Sri Lanka Customs Service. The customs trade unions say they will continue their trade union action until this procedure is changed.
The body of the second man who jumped into the Mahavali River in Kenya, Trincomalee, following a raid to shut down illegal sand mining in the area was discovered this afternoon. The deceased was a 19-year-old resident of Kenya.
2 men who jumped into the river were reported missing since yesterday, and 1 body was discovered last night. The final rites of the deceased 22-year-old was conducted this afternoon. The police media unit, quoting the JMP, said the cause of the death was drowning. Ugly scenes were witnessed when the Sri Lanka Navy launched a raid in Trincomalee last morning to shut down illegal sand mining. 12 Navy personnel were injured when protesting sand miners and others pelted stones at them. Security was beefed up in Kenya thereafter, and the STF said the area is now calm and under control. The area in question is a high security zone. Sand mining cannot be carried out in such areas. We received information that sand mining was happening in a large scale in these areas, so we notified the Navy of the situation and requested them to raid these locations. We regret the unruly behavior of the people who were engaging in these illegal actions, but these raids must be carried out. We temporarily suspended all permits connected to the complaints we received in the Trincomalee district. We decided to suspend these permits to stop illegal sand mining in the area and to bring the perpetrators of these crimes to justice. A survey that our bureau conducted clearly indicates that permits should not be issued for sand mining in this area. There was an attack. They were surrounded by a large group. We are not aware if they were taken away from there and then attacked. The police are conducting a special investigation on the incident. The Navy is also conducting an internal investigation. We do not have enough information to establish a clear connection between the people who came there and the smugglers. However, we see this as an assault that resulted after the smugglers coordinated and created a stir among the general public in the area.
Following are the views expressed by UNP parliamentarian Wasantha Senanayake in Manampitiya.
We will accept whatever the decision that is taken by the party, but the people have the right to express their ideas. I did not encourage anything, but I will agree to any decision taken by the party. Yes, I spoke with the Prime Minister day before yesterday as well. The final decision is in his hands. There is no clear decision on that. We are expecting instructions on how to work. We hope it will be given to us soon.
Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa, speaking to print media, said that he has begun the process to renounce his American citizenship to contest for the presidential election.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa has said that he will revoke his American citizenship and contest the presidential election as the candidate from the camp of Mahinda Rajapaksa. Gotabaya Rajapaksa added that he has received the blessings of Mahinda Rajapaksa. He also said that he will receive the blessings of the current president.
Meanwhile, the Podujana Peramona convened a press briefing in Colombo last evening.
එහෙම ඉතින් ස්ථිර තීන්දුවක් නැහැ කොහෙවත්. ගෝඨාභය මහතා ඉදිරිපත් වීම ගැන ඒත් නෑ. ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂකයා ගැන කතා කරන්න එපා කියලා තමයි කතා කරන්නේ කියලා. අද එහෙම නීතියක් තිබ්බා. නෑ නීතියක් නෙවෙයි. නිකන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරා අපි දැන් මේ තාම ජනාධිපති මැතිවරණයක් නැති නිසා අපි තාම තීන්දුව කරලා නැති නිසා ඒ ගැන කතා කරන්න එපා කියලා. ගෝඨාභය මහතා ලෑස්ති කිව්වනේ. මොකද ගෝඨාභය මහතා ලෑස්ති ඉතින් සන්දානයක් විදිහට අපේ අපේක්ෂා කවුද කියලා රටට ප්‍රසිද්ධ කරන්නේ මැතිවරණ ප්‍රකාශ කරාට පස්සේ. මෛත්‍රීපාල මහතාත් ලෑස්ති. ඔව් ගොඩ දෙනෙක් ලෑස්ති වෙනවා.
There are many who are prepared. Why are we the only ones questioned? On the other hand, Ranil Wickremesinghe is prepared. So is Sajith Premadasa, Karu Jayasuriya and the self-appointed Champika Ranawaka and Sarath Fonseca. There are 5 candidates, but only one will be appointed. It is the same for everyone.
නෑ එහෙම ඉතින් විශේෂ විරෝධයකුත් නෑ. ඕනම දෙයක් අපි ඇඩ්ජස්ට් කරගන්න බලනවා.
State Minister Ranjan Ramanayake expressed these views after appearing for a case filed against him on charges of contempt of court.
He needs the support of 51% of the population to be appointed president, and I don't think that Gotabaya Rajapaksa will ever get the votes of a minority community. thinking of the atrocities he subjected them to, not 51%. I don't even think he would get in the 40% range. He has many allegations of corruption against him. He constructed the grave of his parents with the money of the general public. He is known as the father of the white van culture. He has allegations that he sent a flight to Zurich to take his dogs. He is alleged to have been directly or indirectly involved in the murder of 36 journalists, including Lasantha Wickramatunge. I have no personal grudges against the man. He did some good work, but everyone else stayed on the battlefield, but he disappeared for 15 years. He is an American citizen. He cannot be trusted. If something goes wrong again, he might jump right back.
මල්ලි අතුරුදහන් වුණානේ ඇමරිකාවේ කියලා අනිත් එක ඇමරිකන් පුරවැසියෙක් සතපහට විශ්වාස කරන්න බෑ පොඩ්ඩ බැරිවෙද්දි එහාට ආයෙ පනින්න පුළුවන්.
The three-judge bench at the Supreme Court ordered for the contempt of court case against Ranjan Ramanayaka to be taken up again on the 26th of March. This is a good news story for you. I have been told that Aloysius and his wife had attended the wedding mass of Chichi. I will get the photo. I will show you the photograph. They took a selfie there because Arjun Aloysius presented Chichi with an expensive dog recently. So I accused him of that as well, and he did not respond. All of them are thieves.
ඉතින් ඒකටත් මම චෝදනා කළා උත්තර දුන්නේ මේ සේරව මල්ලි එක රෑනේ හොරු ටික.
Well, there have been serious concerns and questions regarding the country's national carrier Sri Lankan Airlines over the past couple of years, and it's regarding its conduct in terms of its profits and losses, so on and so forth. And to give us a detailed report on the matter, we now join Chaturanga Hapwarachi, who is in the news studio, to give us a report. Chaturanga, what exactly do you have for us, Chaturanga?
Yes, Shine, thank you very much. As we like to famously remind the politicians of our country and those who hold power, you can deceive the people all you want, but when it comes to the actual numbers, the numbers don't lie. Here behind me, I have the statistics of the profits and losses incurred by our national carrier from 2009 until 2019. And here I also have the values of the world fuel prices in one graph. Now, if you take a look at all of these years, even when the value of the world fuel price was extremely high, Sri Lankan Airlines had been managed to control its losses to a certain level. Now, when it comes to 2019, now people who follow this, people who are doing these numbers have put together the fact that by the 31st of March 2019, when the first quarter of this year ends, the losses incurred by the Sri Lankan Airlines, the national carrier, our ambassador as we like to call it, would amount to about 40 billion Sri Lankan rupees, and that is at a time when the fuel prices, the world oil prices have actually gone down, and it's actually rising slightly. It is, when you compare it with these prices that you see here, it is actually less when it's compared to these values, but the loss has increased to 40 billion rupees. Now, experts, as I said, those who are doing these numbers, those who closely monitor the situation when it comes to the national carrier, have expressed their opinion to say that by the end of the first quarter, when things move forward, this value will go up by another 10 billion. That will end up at 50 billion Sri Lankan rupees. The loss of our national carrier will reach 50 billion if things continue in this matter. Now, if you just take a look at this graph that we see here for the past 10 years, if it reaches 50 billion in the next few months, that will be the highest loss that has been incurred by the national carrier for the past, at least for the past 10 years. Now, let me take you through a bit further. Now, we know that several governments have come into place and several individuals have tried to do something with regard to Sri Lankan Airlines, restructure it, they called it. They tried various matters, and various reports were also made by these governments. Now, one such report was this report that was done between 2012 and 2017 to take a look at the restructuring, to take a look at what aircrafts are needed for the national carrier, and basically to carry out a restructuring process once again to ensure that we do not earn so much of losses at Sri Lankan Airlines, while we also keep in the back of our minds that the loss incurred for the first quarter of the year is around 40 billion rupees. Let me take you through what has happened with regard to this report as well. Now, various people, as we mentioned, came forward. The government of our country, our taxpayers, you and I, have paid money for these reports to be made, and they put these reports together, hundreds of pages, for the people who are holding on to power, our politicians, the management of Sri Lankan Airlines, be it anyone who has the ability to take decisions with regard to these things, to go through these reports, analyze what has been said by these various individuals who are considered experts. That is why they have been hired, and to take decisions based on these reports actually done by people who know what they are doing. These documents are taken, extracts from such a report that has been published. Now, we know that you, a person who maybe who flies frequently, or a person who knows about these aircrafts, would understand that if the fleet of the aircrafts held by a carrier of a country, if the fleet is young, if the fleet is about 2 to 3 years old or 5 to 6 years old, you would feel more comfortable in traveling in that airline. You would feel you would have more confidence in that airline to travel with them. And similarly, this particular report that I was mentioning to you about back in 2017 came up and restructured the fleet and made suggestions with regard to the replacements that need to be done. The suggestion was that we need to go into A350s so that our fleet will be younger, a new fleet. We will have a new fleet of flights so that the people, the customers, the people who travel with our national carrier can actually place their confidence in the national carrier, and that they will know that they are flying in new aircrafts, sophisticated, high advanced technology, and thereby they suggested to go into an A350 aircraft. Again, let me remind you that the loss of our national carrier is 40 billion rupees, and these reports, not just one, several of these reports were made, and all of it was paid using the taxpayers' money, the money that belongs to you, the money that belongs to me. What happened at the end of all this? Did they buy the A350 aircrafts? Just because someone sent a text message to another person, these contracts were cancelled. Then why do you need reports of this nature? Why were there money spent to make reports of this nature? If experts get together and if the Sri Lankan government decides to make payments, and if those reports are not considered when actually taking decisions, what is the point? That is the main question that we have right now. And we remember how people of this government, people holding very high positions, appointed the brothers of their friends, brothers of their advisors to the senior management at Sri Lankan Airlines. With carrying out their activities, by carrying out their activities in this manner, by not heeding to reports that have been published, by not looking at the losses that is incurred by the national carrier, are they trying to shut down the national carrier of our country? That is the question that I posed to you today. It's back to Shaheen at the main desk.
Welcome back to the news. Minister Ravi Karunanayake expressed the following views regarding the Ceylon Electricity Board.
There are 6.4 million consumers. This figure continues to grow by 6 to 7% annually. We will make a difference. If the plan is to continue it as a monopoly, we will face difficulties very soon. As your Minister of Power, I make it very clear that Minister Ravi Karunanayake or Minister Champika Ranawaka or our President or Prime Minister will permit the privatization of the Ceylon Electricity Board. We are making certain modifications, not only to provide a better service to the consumer, but also to transform our losses into profits. At present, the CEB produces 1 unit of electricity for 22 rupees and 37 cents, but we sell 1 unit for only 16 rupees and 37 cents. So we incur a loss of 16 rupees per unit. We will not permit the increase of prices. But if we reduce our expenditure, this benefit can be passed on to the end consumer. We must insure our consumer. No one has ever thought of this before. We do not require much funds. We can insure our lives. We must insure our workforce. The minister expressed these views during the inauguration ceremony of the Ceylon Electricity Board's Customer Service Centre in Palangama. There is no such requirement. They are informed of the changes that could take place in demand and supply patterns and rainfall. That is why emergency purchases were done during the past at the very last moment. However, we believe that if this is done 2 months before, we could maintain transparency. We received a request yesterday. The relevant parties claimed that it was urgent. However, the importance of such requests are only processed after a month. Meanwhile, Rakita Jayawardena has been appointed as the chairman of the Ceylon Electricity Board. The Minister of Power, Energy and Business Development announced that Rajiv Selvaraj has been appointed as the vice president and KK Tissa Jinadasa as a working director of the CEB. S.T. Sananakara has been appointed as the chairman of Lanka Electricity Company, while Sudat Jayasundara has been appointed as the chairman of Lanka Transformers Limited.
The fundamental rights petition filed by MTV Channel Private Limited and MBC Networks Private Limited against intimidating the Sirisa media and obstructing media freedom will be taken up for argument by the Supreme Court on the 24th of October.
The FR petition was taken up before the bench comprising Justices LTV Dehideniya, Murthu Fernando and Esture Raja. Both Colombo Municipal Councillor Kitsiri Rajapaksa, named as the first respondent in the petition, and his attorney were not present in court today. President's Counsel Sanjeeva Jayawardena, appearing for the petitioner presenting facts to court, said the first respondent was ordered by court to file objections against the petition on the 30th of September. However, it was only filed 4 months after the deadline. On the night of the 4th of April 2018, when a no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister was taken up for debate, a group lit firecrackers opposite the MTV-MBC head office premises, causing obstruction and intimidation. It was revealed the group was led by Colombo Municipal Councillor Kitsiri Rajapaksa, and when the petition on the matter was considered by a bench including former Chief Justice Priyasad Depp, it was decided to take up the petition filed by MTV Channel Private Limited and MBC Network Private Limited on the 29th of June.
An ambulance worth 9.2 million rupees was donated to the Suryawada District Hospital by the Minister of Housing, Construction and Cultural Affairs, Sajith Premadasa.
The ambulance was donated following a request made by Minister Sajith Premadasa to Minister of Health Dr. Rajat Senaratne.
This year is a decisive year, a political milestone. When we talk about the country, we should also think about the health of our people. I joined politics in the year 2000. It has been 19 years now, and I am happy to say that I have never spoken in favor of those who are involved in the alcohol trade, and I will continue to do so. I have never handed out alcohol licenses either.
Concerns have been expressed with regard to the practices and procedures currently being observed in Parliament since 1947.
Today on the Newsline program on TV1, former Director of Administration in Parliament Lassell de Silva expressed both concern and disregard that a vital component of parliamentary affairs has remained unchanged for several decades.
Now in Netherlands, I have quoted here, in Netherlands, the quorum is 50% plus 1.
50% plus 1.
If you don't have 50% and 1, the House cannot meet. So they have to be very punctual. If the sitting starts at 10 o'clock, the whole lot, 50% and 1 will be there in the Parliament for the Parliament to begin. Right? Unless you have the 50% and
plus 1, yeah.
Plus 1, you can't meet, right? If you really need to upgrade the Parliament, I believe the first thing, the basic thing that you should do is amend the quorum, which is 20, which is the only thing they have not changed since independence, right? They have changed Sri Lanka, the name, they have changed proportional representation in order to remain in power.
Certain things.
Yeah, so many other things, right? Why didn't they change the quorum? I suggest the people must take up this issue. 50% 1 should be the quorum for the Parliament to sit and for committees to meet.
Mr. De Silva maintains that this vital change has not been made and this particular aspect has been stuck in a time bomb since the day of the Salisbury Constitution. This is a matter that should not be left in the hand of the politicians alone, since the citizens are duty-bound to ensure that there is a value of money, as the Parliament is currently considered a white elephant.
Yesterday saw the launch of the Centre for Investigative Reporting in Colombo.
The event was attended by a number of influential people, including journalists, activists and invitees.
It was a government-to-government deal. I investigated the matter for many weeks, talking to my sources as well as diplomats who specialized in defense and security. A clear picture emerged. A fleet of used MiG-27s lay in a parking lot, exposed to snow, sun and rain. Some had a considerable number of flying hours left, while the others, airworthiness was limited. I continued my investigations. When more reports began to appear, those at the highest levels of the government were incensed, unleashed a campaign of terror on me and my family. The continued exposures in the Sunday Times saw a vicious campaign by the state media. Together with them, the Ministry of Defense, which is an official awarded me a dubious title in their official website. I was called a traitor. I must single out the Sirasa television network during this troubled time for standing up to the truth. They even broadcast a letter from Senator Joe Biden, then the chairman of the US Senate Foreign Relations Committee, who was to later become the US Vice President. I mention this because this had an impact at the highest levels of the government.
According to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, gross official reserves of the country fell to $7 million in November of last year.
As at the end of November 2018, gross official reserves were estimated at $7 billion, equivalent to 3.7 months of imports. Total foreign assets, which consist of gross official reserves and foreign assets of the banking sector, amounted to $9.7 billion as at the end of November 2018, equivalent to 5.2 months of imports. According to the external sector report, the overall external sector deficit increased to $807 million.
Which is not going to sustain in long run, because again, to build up the reserves for the mounting foreign debt repayments, government has to borrow money again from the international financial markets, which is very, very expensive at the moment for few reasons. One is we dropped our credit rating rankings due to multiple reasons, due to the fiscal position was not very healthy, and also we had a political instability started from October 26th. So borrowing money to build up the reserves would be very expensive. However, the reserves declining is not a good sign, because we need to have enough reserves to for two reasons. One is we should have reserves to pay our import bills, and also to repay our debts, which we have to pay within this year.
Earnings from tourism rebounded strongly with the start of tourism season, registering a growth of 18.2% in November and bringing in an income of $367 million, boosting the sector's earnings to $3.9 billion in the first 11 months. The tourism sector is expected to continue its robust performance throughout 2019.
The inaugural flight to Colombo of the Thai Lion Air carrier arrived at the Bandaranaike International Airport today.
Several dignitaries, including the chairman of Airport Aviation Sri Lanka Limited, Dhammika Ranatunga, was present at the occasion to welcome the maiden flight, including its passengers and flight crew. The dignitaries were warmly welcomed during the event.
We are on a growth pattern as far as tourism industry is concerned, and you all have seen the recognitions we have got. Here at Bandaranaike Airport, we have made plans to develop our airport to cater to better capacity.
Another phase of the promotional activities of the Sports-First Alliance Platinum Awards 2018, which felicitates sportsmen and women who have performed exceptionally well in both national and international level, was held successfully in Badulla today. Today marks the 15th consecutive day of the promotional campaign.
Today's promotional campaign got underway from Badulla Central College this morning. Education authorities, officials of the Capital Maharaja Organization and Alliance attended the inauguration ceremony of today's event. The program included several colorful displays from a taekwondo team from South Korea, and a special program was held to introduce sports such as baseball, rugby and football to the schools in the area. Archer Raveen Kavisha of St. Thomas's College in Bandaravilla, who represented the country at the Junior Olympics, won the Platinum Gold Award as the most skilled athlete in the Badulla district. In line with today's promotional campaign, the team carried the torch of hope from Badulla to Nuwara. The team received a warm reception in their journey from the crowd gathered on the streets. The promotional campaign for the Sports-First Alliance Platinum Awards 2018 will see its 16th day in the Nuwara town tomorrow.
And that brings tonight's edition of News First Primetime News to a close. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Shahin Jurangpati.
And I'm Mahina Bongso. Good night.